How's it going? I'm Juliet Necro, and I am tired. I'm almost certain you are too. At this point, I'm pretty sure being tired is a large part of what it means to be an adult. When was the last time you said, "I need a vacation"? In my case, I know for a fact that I said it several times last week as of this writing. I can't be the only one who occasionally turns to a video game in order to have some semblance of a vacation, when a real vacation isn't possible for financial or scheduling reasons. What is your vacation game of choice? I asked this question in a few online spaces I frequent, and got answers like Firewatch, A Short Hike, Xenoblade, Animal Crossing, and Moon Remix RPG. Good choices all, or at least I assume so, because I haven't actually gotten around to most of them yet. Oops. Leave a comment to tell me what other great vacation games that I haven't gotten to yet. My number one choice of game when I'm down in the dumps is actually Zero Ranger, but unfortunately I already made a video about that game. Maybe someday I'll turn this channel into a highbrow art piece where every video is a different Zero Ranger video, but not yet. Regardless, I have a new contender to launch headlong into the ring. It's time to discuss Here Comes Niko. Here Comes Niko was developed by Frog Vibes and published by Gears for Breakfast, and released on August 3rd of 2021. On Steam, it describes itself as the cozy 3D platformer for tired people, a name that I'll demonstrate it earns well. It concerns the eponymous Nico, who is going through orientation for their new job as a professional friend. I first encountered this game via a clip of a streamer reacting to the handsome frog character, and was immediately charmed by it. The character designs were so appealing and it just looked so nice. You might be surprised that I decided to pick this game up, considering the games that I usually go for. But it's quite charming in a way that I'm about to spend a lot of time explaining. I don't remember now when that was, but I suspect that it was sometime in 2021 as I was preparing to move to a new country. I had been so beaten down by my previous job that I was in perpetual I need a vacation mode. By the same token, though, I was too exhausted to even try the game that I had just bought. It actually took me until October 2022 to play it, during a time when I was getting adjusted to my new job. Funny how life works sometimes. I wound up being very glad I did. As I'll soon demonstrate, Here Comes Niko is a vacation game like no other. I love this game, and I'm glad to share it with you. Chapter 1. Mechanical Vacation. Is it possible for a game to convey a vacation feeling through mechanics alone? Well, Here Comes Niko's mechanics do a lot of work on that front. As I've said, Here Comes Niko is a 3D platformer, and if you're about my age, then that means you probably have some nostalgia for that genre. I spent many happy hours as a little girl just jumping around and exploring the worlds of games like Super Mario 64 and Donkey Kong 64, especially the latter. When I was a little older, I got a copy of Banjo-Kazooie and loved that one too. Those early 3D platformers reveled in the joy of existing in a big open 3D space and doing silly little tasks. Trust me, if there's any game that's about just existing in a big open 3D space and doing silly little tasks, it's Here Comes Niko. This game features no combat at all, and there's no way to die or take damage. There is nothing that can get in the way of your running and jumping. I often felt that the enemies in the combat felt a bit perfunctory in those old N64 platformers of my young childhood. A lot of that is probably down to the fact that the developers were still nailing down how to make combat in a 3D platformer interesting. But I also suspect that there was at least one person on those teams that wanted to make an adventure game without any focus on combat, just exploration and puzzle solving. Here Comes Niko takes the vibe further, however. In those old platformers, there's a lot of progression gating. In Mario 64, you have to find the 3 cap power-ups. In Banjo, you need to get new moves from Bottles the Mole. In Donkey Kong 64, you have to find the 4 other Kongs, get each Kong's weapon from Funky, get each Kong's instrument from Candy, and get each Kong's moves from Cranky. It's quite a bit. Here Comes Niko dispenses with all of that. You only interact with the world by moving, jumping, and diving. You would think, based on that description, that this game lacks depth, but there's still a lot you can do in this game with so few verbs. In Here Comes Niko, here are some of the things you can do just by running and jumping. You can play a bunch of different kinds of beach volleyball. You can plant flowers in the garden. You can find a hidden dragon spirit. You can do street art. You can go fishing. This game has fishing and is therefore good. Just like Cruelty Squad, my beloved. Each of these tasks tests a different kind of platforming skill in a casual way. The volleyball games test your ability to position yourself. Also, I swear to God that the music during Huge Volley in Tadpole HQ is a parody of Akira Ifukube's Godzilla theme. Planting flowers is a puzzle in itself. You'll see if you're looking at my footage right now. Each flower bulb plants the flowers in a pattern, and you have to get all the pots filled by jumping to plant the flowers. I am very bad at this because geometry was my worst subject in school, but I had a lot of fun with it. The fishing in this game also rocks. How do you make fishing a platforming challenge? Simple. Nico himself is the hook. You can see the various fish flopping around in the water, so your goal is to get Nico to land in that spot in the water to grab them. It's a fun little challenge to get them all. Like I said, the game gets a lot out of just running and jumping. There's also challenges like getting Lewis back to his husband Sershal. They impose limits on how often you can jump, which tests your knowledge of the levels. Game Kid also makes challenges out of ordinary traversal. Like in the bathhouse, where you have to platform from one section of the map to another without ever touching snow. There are also the sections where you jump into the arcade machine Blippi for more traditional platforming challenges. Even here, though, you can't die, only lose progress when you fall. It really enhances the vacation vibe that you have so few mechanics to worry about. Let's go back to our Donkey Kong 64 comparison again. In that game, a lot of the golden bananas are more tied to just having the right move and the right Kong at the right place at the right time. On the other hand, removing the hurdles of character progression means that wherever you go in Here Comes Niko, you have the tools to solve the problem that you find. Here Comes Niko wants you to luxuriate in the environments, not worry about getting enough banana coins to pay Cranky Kong, Funky Kong, and Candy Kong in each and every world. Donkey Kong 64 still rules, though, don't get me wrong. This game even makes stopping to relax an explicit mechanic. Nico has a virtual pet game that you can play with, and the only way to activate it is to sit on a bench, beach chair, or other relaxing location. If you want to access that part of the game, unless you're on a loading screen, you must luxuriate in your environment, and I think that's beautiful. Speaking of luxuriating, this game's progression requirements are very lax compared to a lot of similar games. You really do not have to collect a lot of coins in order to progress to the next set of islands that comprise the game's levels. Part of the reason I don't think Super Mario Sunshine is a good vacation game, aside from the fact that the cops ruin Mario's in-game vacation almost immediately, is the way it handles progression. To see the end game in Mario Sunshine, you must get the first 7 shines in each world. Not only is this a bit restrictive, it tramples on the purported vacation vibe of the game. Is your idea of a vacation to be told exactly what to do? Probably not, but we'll return to this later. Here Comes Niko's lax requirements for progressing to the next world represent a re-vacationing of the 3D platformer. Since there's so little you have to do, you can focus more on what you want to do. Pepper gives you hints to find the coins in each world, but you don't have to do what he says if you don't want to. If you decide you don't enjoy fishing in this game, then you don't have to do it. Simple as that. However, if you decide you don't like fishing in this game, just know that you and I will never be friends because that shit rocks. Many of the classics of the 3D platforming genre are termed collectathon games, and Here Comes Niko addresses this as well. The most prominent collectible is coins, which you get for accomplishing tasks. There are other collectibles, such as bugs, which you can give to Blessley in exchange for a coin, and cassette tapes, which you can give to 2 different NPCs for coins. However, the game's progression is such that you're likely to have enough to exchange for the coin when you encounter the NPC. If not, it probably won't be long. In addition, bugs always respawn, so it's not a stressful hunt. You can grab them on the way to other things as a fun little side task. The last collectible is apples. Apple's closest analog in other games are Mario 64's coins or Banjo 64's notes. They make a very satisfying sound to collect, and they replenish when you return to an area, which gives you all the good sensations of video game pickup collecting. However, unlike those things from other games, you are never required to use apples to progress. The only time you can exchange apples for anything is in the last stage of the game. It grants you a super jump, which is helpful but not necessary for clearing up the last few obstacles before wrapping up the game. It's all the fun of grabbing large numbers of collectibles without the stress. All in all, this game feels like a vacation because it has the vibes of 3D platformers without a lot of the friction. It is a monumentally mechanically relaxing experience, and if you play games like I typically do, sometimes you need that. Of course, this game is also a vacation for the eyes and ears. Chapter 2. Aesthetic Vacation. Obviously, if you've been looking at the screen while watching this video, you can see that this game is an absolute treat to look at as well. Here Comes Niko takes a lot of aesthetic notes from a lot of pretty games. You've got a bit of Wind Waker going on here, as well as some Paper Mario, and the music sometimes has some Pikmin energy to it. None of these vibes were called out specifically by the devs as far as I'm aware, but that's what I got from it. Here Comes Niko's water begs to be swimmed in, and its beach chairs demand that you sit on them. The environments are peppered with frogs, fitting considering the name of the developer, as well as crabs and even the occasional capybara. They make adorable noises when you bump into them. I would be doing this game a disservice if I didn't mention the music by Stijn van Wakeren. It might be surprising how much I like this soundtrack considering what I normally listen to. My playlist while typing this includes Castle Rat, Wolves in the Throne Room, The Hers Collective, and Magma, for example. But it enhances the vibe in a wonderful way. The track in Salmon Creek Forest, for example, sounds like forest music in a way that almost no other video game track can match. It's such a vibe, the whole thing. Please give it a listen. But speaking of levels in this game, they are all aesthetically crafted to give you the vibe of a different kind of vacation. It rocks. Hairball Island, as the first real level, gives you a taste of a bit of what you'll see in each of the other areas, while also having a beach vacation vibe all its own. It is a cruel irony that now that I'm old enough to truly appreciate a good beach, other factors in my life make me afraid to visit a beach, so I'm thankful to this game for distilling that experience. However, we will return to that topic later. The next stage is Turbine Town, which has a more temperate vibe than Hairball Island. It also conveys the experience of exploring a new town and doing local sightseeing, which is one of my personal favorite things to do when traveling. It's also full of birds, which I love. We get hints of what's to come with the Torii Gates and the dragon therein. It's a little thing, but I also enjoy that the only method we see of generating power in this game is renewable. Also, there are no cars, only trains. I'm with Train Frog on this one. That gets an official Juliet Necro hell yeah. After Turbine Town comes Salmon Creek Forest. The vacation vibe here is mountain vacation / nature sightseeing. This conjures up a lot of positive memories for me, as someone who enjoyed hiking and camping in my younger life. One of my family's go-to vacations when I was young was to visit ski towns in the summer when they're not very busy. It's a relaxing kind of vacation. This is likely my favorite track in the game, and one of the largest stages in the game. And yes, there is, in fact, a secret behind the waterfall. If this game didn't have a secret behind a waterfall, I probably wouldn't be making a video about it. After Salmon Creek Forest comes the public pool. But how is the public pool a vacation? Simple. It's a vacation from vacation. The public pool is for relaxing relatively close to home, without the stress of long-term travel. This is the point where the game gets closest to violence, and even then, the most violent thing that happens in this game is a child cutting an inner tube with a pair of scissors. Magnificent. After public pool comes the bathhouse. There's two different things going on here. First of all, this is the snow level. It conveys the feeling of taking a winter vacation to someplace cold. I appreciate this a lot as a well-known summer hater. When you grow up in Texas like I did, you probably have no love for the unbearable summer either. Therefore, winter scenes have always been a favorite of mine. Also, the bathhouse is by far the most Japanese flavored of the levels in this game, which conjures up the appeal of travel to foreign countries. Well, unless you live in Japan, I guess. This level features the first appearance of the axolotl family, and a parable about needlessly working too hard. Last up is Tadpole HQ, which I would call more of a denouement of the game's story than any particular vibe. The closest I can think of for what kind of vacation it is would be visiting the downtown of a faraway city. However, this area does feature some of the game's funniest writing, such as the test character replaced by Nico during development trash-talking them, or the accountants that don't actually know anything about accounting. To be fair, I don't know anything about accounting either. Some other levels also get some very fun dialogue too. There is one more important way that this game is an aesthetic vacation that might not be so obvious at first, but I'm going to give it its own chapter because it's my damn video. Chapter 3. Transgender Vacation. Trans people really need a vacation in the year of our Lord current year, and if you disagree, frankly you haven't been paying attention. This game provides a semblance of that much-needed vacation in a few ways. For starters, Here Comes Niko is nice in that it allows one to exist in a space in which transness exists and is normal, and no one questions it. Nico themselves is explicitly non-binary, of course, and aside from issues with their mother that are not well elaborated upon, it does not affect how they're treated by people around them. It's honestly a little bit elegiac how refreshing it is that the NPCs don't make a big deal out of Nico's transness. The idea of people being normal about a trans person is literally fantastic to me. Nico is the only explicitly trans character in this game, but as I played I met several other characters who conveyed the vibe regardless. The example I think of the most often is Brittany. Brittany is an NPC who shows up on several of the levels. She's always just hanging out. There's never a coin that requires you to talk to her or anything. She's just around and vibing. Brittany reads very trans to me primarily because of her voice. Here Comes Niko doesn't have voice acting, instead falling back on using repeated noises to represent speech a la Banjo-Kazooie. In Brittany's case, her vocalizations can vary wildly in pitch.
Yo, 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 yo.
If you're a trans woman, you know well how irritating it can be to keep your voice work consistent. One of the biggest chores in making these videos is hearing my own voice, and noticing all the little inconsistencies and things I can improve. The idea of being able to wear a swimsuit and relax and not be bothered, even if my voice isn't perfectly passable or consistent, sounds like a vacation for sure. The relentless summer timiness of this game is a small replacement for what trans people sometimes have to give up when we start to transition. It can be hard to enjoy the beach or the pool when you're not a fan of your body. Not to mention the fact that it can be dangerous if other people aren't fans of your body in those places. I've basically made peace now with the fact that I will never go to the beach again, or swim in a pool, unless it's a private pool and I'm surrounded by trusted people. That realization gives some extra poignancy to Here Comes Niko's beachy vibe. It's a bit haunting that this game includes a level called Public Pool. Nowadays, I'm just as likely to visit a public pool in real life as I am to visit Anne Orlando, or the ruins of La Milana, or the city of Midgar. It's equally a fantasy to me. But this game gives me a small bit of reclamation. Even if I'm ever afraid to visit those places again, I can claim some of that experience here in the safety of the 3D platformer. Being able to enjoy a vacation without worry is basically unheard of to me, so I genuinely really appreciate this game for letting me do that. The overall takeaway of this section, though, is that I look at Brittany from this game and I say, she just like me for real, only she's less goth than I am. Chapter 3.5. Personal Vacation. Like I said, I have issues with actually relaxing while on vacation in the past. I struggle with feelings of guilt whenever I take some time to myself, first of all, even if I have nothing I need to do. As I'm typing this, I'm finally feeling productive again. Yesterday I spent all day playing Zero Ranger and feeling guilty about it, because I'm bad at taking time to myself, even when I've already taken care of all my responsibilities. Here Comes Niko has the perfect ratio of task to relaxation in order to feel like a vacation to me. When I vacation, I'm not the lie on the beach for a whole week type. I tend to try and see as many different things as possible during the time I'm away from home. So when this game presents me with tasks even while I'm on vacation, I feel right at home. Truth be told, I really needed the vacation that working on this video provided me. I started working on this video in mid-March. At the time, I was very busy at my day job and feeling really burned out. I was also working on a video on the game Vomitorium. I was so burnt out by my work that I was too spent to find anything interesting to say about that game, and I worried that any video I made would be boring and only do the game a disservice. Basically, all that video was me saying, "Look at this thing from Vomitorium, isn't that neat?" You're not missing anything because I made the tough decision to scrap it. You should play Vomitorium though, that's a good game. It gets a Juliet Necro hell yeah as a sign of goodwill. Being able to work on a video about this game felt like a vacation by comparison. To be fair, that's in part because my work calmed down a bit in the past month, but also because of how relentlessly pleasant Here Comes Niko is. 3D platformers are very relaxing to me as it is, and this one was even more so. This video was healing to work on. I'm gradually regaining my ability to relax and be creative, and it feels so nice. As I said at the start, Here Comes Niko is the 3D platformer for tired people, and that was certainly my demographic when I started working on this one. The humor, the aesthetics, and the music prime you for a nice time, and the game gently encourages you to relax and explore its world without feeling too much pressure. It achieves just about the perfect balance of task to relaxation that it becomes practically the ideal vacation game, at least for me. I hope you'll give it a try and see if it's the same way for you. The fact that I made a choice to scrap a video and make this one instead feels like a turning point. I released my first YouTube video on Zero Ranger about a year ago, so this feels like a good place to say that Season 0 is over, and this video is the season premiere of Season 1 of my channel. Expect great things in the future. That's all for today. Please subscribe, and ciao. Till next time, y'all.